Okay, let's just picture this for a moment. You're facing a really severe famine.
Right.
You're essentially a foreigner, in a new place, no real connections.
Vulnerable.
Exactly. And you need the basics like water just to get by, let alone build something. It's tense.
Absolutely. You've got scarcity, being the outsider, navigating relationships. It's a lot.
And that's pretty much the situation we're diving into today. We have these source texts telling the story of Isaac, Abraham's son,
Hmm.
and he's dealing with exactly these kinds of pressures in Gerar and later in Beersheba.
Yeah, these texts, they cover some key moments, don't they? His dealings with a local king, Abimelek,
Right, and these intense fights over water.
vital resources.
Right.
And then this surprising way things kind of resolve.
So our mission here is to explore those specific challenges Isaac faced according to these excerpts. We want to look at the twists, the turns,
And maybe pull out some insights about, fear, wealth, conflict, how it all works together.
and reconciliation too, right? All kind of guided by these promises and divine interventions mentioned in the text.
Definitely. We'll look at that time Isaac, well, he feared for his life, lied about his wife,
We'll get into that.
and the big conflicts over wells that pushed him around.
And how peace, amazingly, gets made with the same people who doubtfully kicked him out.
It's quite a journey.
Okay, let's jump right in. Part one, Isaac arriving in Gerar. What sets this off?
Well, the source starts with the famine, a severe one,
Hmm.
just like Abraham faced before him, apparently.
So history repeating, sort of?
Seems like it. And this forces Isaac to move. He ends up in Gerar, which is ruled by this King Abimelek, Philistine territory.
And right at the start, as he's settling in as this, foreigner, the text describes a really key moment, a divine encounter.
Yes, the Lord appears to Isaac, and the instruction is very specific. Don't go down to Egypt.
Which is where you might expect someone to go during a famine, right? Like Abraham did.
Exactly. Instead, he's told, stay here, stay in Gerar, live as a foreigner. But the core message is reassurance. I will be with you and bless you.
And what about those big promises, the ones made to Abraham? Are they brought up again?
Oh, absolutely. The source is explicit. God confirms them directly to Isaac. Says, I'll give all these lands to you and your descendants, just as I promised Abraham.
Wow.
The promise of descendants, countless like the stars, that's repeated. And crucially, that through Isaac's descendants, all nations would be blessed.
That's huge, passing the torch, so to speak. And does the text give a reason why this blessing continues? Does it link back to Abraham?
It does, yeah. It connects it directly to Abraham's faithfulness. It says something like, I'm doing this because Abraham listened to me. He obeyed my requirements, commands, decrees, instructions.
So Isaac's future blessing is tied to his father's past obedience.
That's how the text frames it.
Okay, so Isaac gets this incredible reassurance, this command to stay put and trust these massive promises for the future. And what's the very next thing he does, according to the source?
Well, the local man asks him about his wife, Rebekah,
Mhm.
and he says, she's my sister.
Oh, wow. Deja vu again, like his father? Why? What's the reason given?
Fear. The text is blunt. He was afraid to say, she is my wife. He thought, essentially, they'll kill me to get her because she's so beautiful.
So that fear, it just overrides the promise he just received about God being with him.
It seems that way in the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The immediate perceived threat feels more real than the promise.
How does the truth come out? Does he get caught?
He does. Some time passes, and King Abimelek himself happens to look out a window.
And sees.
He sees Isaac and Rebekah interacting.
Hmm.
Well, the text says caressing,
Hmm.
in a way that makes it obvious they're married.
Busted. So what does the king do? Is he furious?
He calls Isaac in, confronts him directly. She's obviously your wife. Why did you say she's your sister?
And Isaac tells him why. The fear.
Yep, Isaac explains he was afraid he'd be killed over her.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, right? Abimelek's reaction isn't just anger at Isaac.
No, it's quite surprising. It's framed more as concern for his own people. He says something like, what have you done to us? One of my people could easily have slept with her, and you would have brought guilt upon us.
So he's worried about the potential sin Isaac's lie could have caused his people.
Exactly, the ethical ripple effect of the deception.
And the outcome is just unexpected.
Completely. Abimelek doesn't punish him. Instead, he issues a public order.
What does he decree?
Basically, anyone who touches this man or his wife will be put to death.
Wow.
Yeah.
Full protection after being deceived.
That's remarkable, isn't it? A foreign king providing this shield. It really underscores how Isaac's fear created risks for everyone, and how safety came from a very surprising source, even though, Isaac hadn't exactly earned it through honesty there.
That protection, though, it seems to set the stage for what the source describes next. This period of incredible blessing for Isaac.
It does.
But then, ironically, that blessing leads to more trouble.
Precisely. The text says Isaac plants crops that year, right there in Gerar,
During a famine.
during the famine. And he harvests, get this, 100 times more grain than he planted, says the Lord blessed him.
100-fold. That's astronomical.
Unbelievable yield. And the result, the text emphasizes, he became a very rich man and his wealth continued to grow. Lots of flocks, herds, servants.
So divine blessing, huge prosperity. But what's the immediate fallout mentioned right after that?
Trouble. The text states flatly, the Philistines became jealous of him.
Success breeds resentment.
Seems so. His blessing makes him stand out, and not entirely in a good way to the locals.
And how does that jealousy play out? What do they actually do?
They go after his water supply. The source says, so the Philistines filled up all of Isaac's wells with dirt.
Filled them with dirt. That's serious sabotage.
It's more than vandalism. These are specifically mentioned as the wells Abraham's servants had dug. Water is life there. Filling wells is a direct hit on his livelihood, his ability to sustain everything. It's hostile.
Wow. A really aggressive move. So where's King Abimelek now? The guy who protected him earlier.
Well, this time, the dynamic shifts completely. Abimelek tells Isaac he has to leave.
He kicks him out after protecting him.
Yep, and the reason given is explicit. Go somewhere else, for you have become too powerful for us.
Too powerful. So the blessing that made him rich now makes him a perceived threat.
Exactly. The king who once shielded him now expels him because his prosperity feels dangerous to them. Protection is gone.
It's fascinating how the text connects prosperity directly to conflict and expulsion here. So Isaac's forced out of Gerar proper. Where does he go?
He moves not far, but away from the main center into the Gerar Valley.
And what's the first thing he does there? Something symbolic.
Yes, he reopens the wells his father Abraham had dug, the ones the Philistines had clogged off after Abraham died.
Reclaiming his father's work.
Right. And the source adds he even restored the original names Abraham had given them. It's like he's restaking a claim, connecting back to his heritage.
But finding water, even in the valley, isn't easy. The conflict continues when he digs new wells, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. His servants dig a new well, find fresh water, which is huge.
That.
But shepherds from Gerar show up and claim it's theirs. They argue fiercely with Isaac's herdsmen.
And Isaac names that well based on the conflict.
He does. He calls it Esek, which the text helpfully tells us means argument.
Very fitting. Does it happen again?
Yes. They dig another well.
Yeah.
Same story. Another dispute breaks out over it.
So he names this one too.
This one he names Sitna, meaning hostility.
So we see an escalation, right? From argument to hostility.
Definitely. The source shows the tension ramping up over these essential resources. 2 new wells, 2 intense conflicts.
He must be getting pretty frustrated. What does he do after Sitna?
He moves on again,
Yeah.
abandons those contested wells, digs a 3rd one somewhere else in the valley.
And this time,
This time, the text just says there was no dispute over it.
finally, some peace.
Relief, you imagine. And the name he gives this place is really significant.
What does he call it?
Rehoboth, meaning open space or room. And he says, according to the text, at last the Lord has created enough space for us to prosper in this land.
Rehoboth, open space. That's powerful. It captures the whole journey, doesn't it? From being hemmed in by conflict, argument, hostility, to finally finding room to breathe and thrive.
Exactly. It's a resolution of sorts after persistent effort and movement.
Okay, so from Rehoboth, this place of open space, the source says Isaac makes another move. Where to next?
He goes up to Beersheba.
And Beersheba becomes another significant location. He has another divine encounter there.
Yes, the text says the Lord appeared to him the very night he arrived. Again, the identification connects back. I is the God of your father Abraham.
And the message, still one of reassurance.
Yes, do not be afraid, for I am with you and will bless you. It's consistent.
And the promises, are they mentioned again?
They are. The promise to multiply his descendants into a great nation is repeated. And again, it's explicitly tied to Abraham. Because of my promise to Abraham, my servant.
The text really hammers home that connection to Abraham's covenant.
Consistently, Isaac's blessings are grounded in that prior relationship.
So after this encounter in Beersheba, what are Isaac's immediate actions recorded in the text?
3 things. He builds an altar and worships. He sets up his camp, his home base, and his servants start digging another well.
Worship, settlement, water. the essentials,
The foundations for staying put.
and then comes the surprise visitor, or visitors. Who shows up?
King Abimelek again, from Gerar. He comes to Beersheba,
The guy who kicked him out.
the very same. And he brings back up his advisor, Ahuzath, and his army commander, Philistines.
Wow, that must have been tense. How does Isaac greet them? Does he hold back?
Not really. He's pretty blunt, given their history.
Yeah.
He asks them straight up, "Why have you come here? You obviously hate me since you kicked me off your land."
He calls them out on it. Good for him.
Doesn't mince words. He remembers why he left Gerar.
So how do Abimelek and his advisors respond to that direct accusation?
Their answer is, well, kind of stunning. They say, "We can plainly see that the Lord is with you."
Whoa. They acknowledge it after driving him out because he was too successful.
They explicitly attribute his resilience, his prosperity, his safety to God's presence with him. That's a total reversal from their previous stance.
So what's their motive now? What do they propose?
They want a treaty, a formal sworn agreement. They say, "So we want to enter into a sworn treaty with you. Let's make a covenant."
A non-aggression pact, basically.
Yes. They ask Isaac to swear he won't harm them,
Uh-huh.
saying, "Just as we have never troubled you," which is an interesting spin on events.
Yeah, never troubled you, apart from, filling your wells and kicking you out.
Right. They even claim they always treated you well and sent him away in peace. It definitely contrasts with Isaac's own recollection of being expelled because they hated him.
That's some serious historical revisionism on their part, but maybe it's their way of paving the path to peace now, acknowledging his divine blessing.
Perhaps. They seem to recognize his favored status and want to ensure peaceful coexistence, maybe out of respect or even fear that God they see is with him. They cap it off by saying, "And now look how the Lord has blessed you."
Acknowledging the undeniable evidence. So, how does Isaac react to this proposal? Does he buy their story? Does he agree to the treaty?
He agrees. Despite the questionable retelling of the past, he moves towards reconciliation. The text says Isaac prepares a feast for them.
A covenant feast.
Exactly. They eat and drink together. Then, the next morning, they formally swear oaths to each other not to interfere, basically.
So, a proper peace treaty.
Yes. And then Isaac sends them home, and the text confirms they leave him in peace. It's a real shift from that earlier hostility and expulsion.
And then right after this peace treaty is sealed, the narrative brings us back to that crucial theme. Water. What happens?
That very same day, Isaac's servants, the ones who've been digging the well in Beersheba,
Yeah.
they come running to him excited. "We found water."
Wow. The timing. Finding water, the thing that caused so much conflict immediately after making peace. That feels significant.
It really does. And Isaac commemorates this confluence of events in the name he gives the well.
What does he call it?
He names the well Sheba, which means oath.
Sheba oath. Makes sense.
And the source explicitly links this to the town's name. To this day, the town that grew up there is called Beersheba, which means well of the oath.
Well of the oath. So the place itself is forever named for that moment, the discovery of life-giving water tied directly to the establishment of peace through a sworn agreement.
It powerfully connects the resolution of conflict with the provision of essential resources, all grounded in this act of making a covenant. It brings all the threads together: resources, struggle, peace, divine presence, formal agreements.
It really does. Now, the source slips in one last little detail right at the end of this section. It's kind of a foreshadowing, isn't it? About Isaac's son, Esau.
Yeah, just a brief note. He says, when Esau was 40, he married 2 Hittite women.
Okay. And the impact.
The text is short but potent. But Esau's wives made life miserable for Isaac and Rebekah.
Oof. So just a little reminder from the source that even when you navigate these huge external conflicts and find some peace, challenges can still arise right within the family.
Yeah, life keeps happening, doesn't it? Even for those who are blessed, relationships remain complex.
So let's just zoom back out for a second. Look at the journey the source maps out for Isaac here.
It's quite something. He starts in famine. Fear leads him to deception.
Then incredible wealth, which ironically sparks jealousy, sabotage.
Conflict over water, being forced out, moving again and again.
Naming wells after the arguments and hostility. Esek, Sitnah.
Until finally reaching Rehoboth, that sense of open space.
And then in Beersheba, there's renewed divine assurance and this totally unexpected treaty, an oath with the very people who expelled him.
And that peace treaty is immediately cemented by finding water, leading to the name Beersheba, well of the oath.
It's a story just packed with human struggle, isn't it? Fear, competition, the search for peace and security.
Absolutely.
And as you reflect on this, think about those different kinds of conflict shown here. There's Isaac's internal fear causing deception. There's the external jealousy leading to the Philistines' sabotage. And then the direct face-to-face arguments over the wells. Do you see echoes of these patterns, fear-driven conflict, jealousy-driven conflict, resource-driven conflict in, challenges in your own life or in the world around you?
It's striking how these basic human dynamics, these needs and emotions, play out in so many ways, generating conflict.
And here's a final thought from the text to maybe chew on. The story makes this powerful link, doesn't it, between finding water life itself and the cause of conflict earlier and the making of an oath, a peace treaty.
Yeah, the well of the oath. It suggests that real lasting peace and prosperity, that open space, wasn't just about digging another hole in the ground. It was tied to reconciliation, to finding agreement after all that struggle.
So what does it actually take then to move from those places of argument and hostility, the Eseks and Sitnas in our lives or communities, to find that open space, that Rehoboth, and ultimately establish in both a Beersheba a solid foundation of peace and understanding?
That connection between the well and the oath
Yeah.
definitely gives you something to think about.